All right, I thought I would make a video as I was grading your paper. That way you can get some good feedback. Speaking of which, when you're done watching this video, um, obviously, if you still have questions about your grade or anything else I mentioned in the video, let me know and I'll help you out. Another thing to do once you're done with this, once you're done with the video, if you can, if you will allow me to share this video, as in change the privacy setting from unlisted to public, then I will give you some extra credit. So again, if you're fine with that, shoot me an email, let me know, and I'll give you some extra credit. And then one last thing before I get started, you should be watching this on YouTube. And you probably already know this, but just in case you don't, if you go to the bottom of the screen on YouTube, there's a little gear icon where you can adjust the settings. And one of the settings you can change is the speed. So feel free to fast forward me. There's definitely no need to watch me in real time grading your paper. That being said, let's take a look. You were doing non-renewable energy lab. This is good. This is my first time looking at this. So far, everybody's done the non-renewable lab. Okay, let's take a look here. We're thinking non-renewable decreased, natural gas decreased, coal increased, nuclear increased, pumped storage hydropower remained the same. We're thinking petroleum increased, other gas increased. We're thinking coal increased the most and natural gas decreased the most. And we're thinking non-renewable energy saw the largest increase. So let's take a look here. Look at your table. Good. You have the years. This is important, especially in your case, because you are the first person to do the non-renewable version of the lab as opposed to the renewable, which means I need to compare your data to the one on the to the data on the internet, because the other ones I've been grading so many of them, I didn't need to compare it to the internet because wouldn't say I had it memorized, but I've seen it enough to where if something was very off, I would recognize that. So with yours, again, first person, so I don't have it memorized by any means. So let's take a look here very quickly. I'm going to pull up the website. There we go. So we can compare what you have to the table. Now, the table, I see you have 2025. Technically, that's obviously projected. So technically, that's not one of the most recent years, but that's okay. I'm not going to deduct any points for that. Where's that website? Excuse me. Interesting. Bear with me. I apologize. There we go. Now we have it. There we go. So we're doing 2025. So we're looking, so about, let's call it 1690. And you'll notice I am estimating just because it's a Monday. I want to grade this quickly. So about 1690. And honestly, it's the beginning and the end that I'm most concerned with. So if you make a little mistake in the middle, I'm not too worried about it because it's the beginning and the end that's used to calculate the difference in the percentage. So here we go. Anyway, 2025, we have about 1686. That works. That checks out. So that is, let's see, a small deduction. That looks about right. Coal starting off at about 665 to about 570. That looks right. That is a decrease of about, yep. Okay, that looks about right. Another thing I mentioned is you'll notice I don't usually pull out a calculator and check all your math, right? I'm just looking for red flags. If it looks all right by looking, then I'm fine with it. I have a lot of practice with this. So unless there's a large mistake, then you should be fine. Anyway, nuclear started out at about 775, ended at 796. Yeah, so that's about an increase of 21, about 2.71%. Sure, I'll go with that. Pumped storage hydro. Interesting. Pumped storage hydro. -5. I am very curious about this. I wonder what that even means now that I think about it. How is it negative? How do you have negative amount of energy? I'll have to look into that. But anyway, started about -6, went to about -6, right? So there's a much of a change. I would say, interesting. I would say that there was no change based on this, but then when you do the math, I could see how that might be. So let me just do this. I'm going to do the math on this one just to see what we're working with. Because again, this is the first time anyone's done this lab. This is new for me from a grading perspective. So let's call it negative 6.08 minus negative 5.87, and that is a change of negative 11.95. No, that's, oh, I see. Interesting. Now yours is more correct. All right, I'm sorry. So if you're going from negative 5.87 to negative 6. Yeah, that is correct. I messed up the calculation. Anyway, so let's clear that out. Calculate the 0.018 negative divided by negative 5.87. Negative 6.05. Interesting. So, and then you just multiply that by 100. All right, sorry, you have to forgive me. Again, this is the first time I've graded this lab. What am I doing wrong here? Something's up. 0.18. And yes, I realize I'm leaving off the negatives, but that will work for now. There we go. That's more like it. Multiply by 100, so we should have 3.06%. Yep, and then up, round that up. So yeah, that is good. I'm sorry for the delay there. But only problem is this is supposed to be negative, right? So we did go from somehow a negative to a bigger negative, which means it's the percent change went down, right? So yeah, I'm not going to deduct anything for that. It is a negative change, but this is a very odd set of data. So I'm not going to do anything with it. Petroleum, we're saying it's from about 17 to about 18. Petroleum, about 17 to about 18. That looks right. That's a change of about 6.47%. That looks good. Other gases, we're saying about 3.2 to 3.32. 3.32. It's a change of 0.12. About 4%. That looks about right. Renewable totals, about 867 to about 1,060. This is 1,060. That looks right. That's an increase. Non-renewable total. So here, I'm going to deduct points. I'll show you the math behind this. This part is the same for both labs. I won't deduct anything from this because this math, right, is probably based on this incorrect data, but I'm assuming the math is correct. Not only that, but I know for a fact, because I've been grading these for a while, that non-renewable did in fact decrease. And the only question about non-renewable versus renewable, right, this suffices, right? We're comparing non-renewable to renewable, and no matter what, regardless of any kind of math mistakes, renewable did increase and non-renewable did decrease. But really quickly, let me show you how this works. Let's just look at this 1 year, 2025. Right. So if you look at the total, right, this total right here for 2025, this is the total net generation. So this includes all of the non-renewable, all of the renewable plus the non-renewable. So if we want to see what the non-renewable is, then we need to take away the renewable. I hope that makes sense. Let's take a look here. 4,131.13 minus, and then this is the renewable total. See, so that's minus 1,062.33. So that should be 3,068.8 is the proper number for this, right? So again, you can see that math mistake. However you came up with that erroneously, I would assume you did the same thing there, which is why you have those low numbers. And again, I would demonstrate it for you, but I've been doing this for a while, so I know these numbers are incorrect. Anyway, I'm going to take some notes for myself before I go on to grade the rest of your stuff. So we have decrease. So only 2 decreased. Let me write those down for my own notes. So we have natural gas decreased, and we had coal decreased a lot. Actually, natural gas, according to the directions of the lab, we would say natural gas remain the same, right? Because anything between 1 and -1, we considered remain the same. That being said, yep, that's it. And then, of course, non-renewable energy also decreased. So we have natural gas remained the same, coal decreased, and non-renewable energy decreased. All right. What was your hypothesis, and was it correct or incorrect? Your hypothesis was correct. It decreased. We're talking about overall the non-renewable. So that part is correct, but it says right here, what was your hypothesis? And I know this seems redundant, and I do apologize for that, but it is all for a reason. Sorry, I'm trying to fix this. There we go. Stay in the call. You'd be surprised at how many people lack the ability to reflect back on their hypothesis, compare it to their data, and determine if their hypothesis was correct or not. So part of making sure that mistake doesn't happen when the students do these labs is I have them repeat the hypothesis. So yes, it's redundant. And that's one of the reasons why, right? Because you do need to get into that practice. And also because me now, if it happens to be that I don't remember what your hypothesis was, then now I've got to go back a couple of pages and check each one. Each one I don't remember, I need to go check and make sure that you are correct what you write here. So again, it's good for the students and it helps me out as well. Anyway, so you lose half a point for that. For again, the whole what was your hypothesis thing. So natural gas. Again, you need to include the hypothesis, but let's see what else you have. They were correct. You were correct. It decreased. All right. That sounds right. Same here. You need to restate your hypothesis. So it's another half point missing. You were incorrect because it decreased. Right. Because if I remember correctly, I think you said coal either remained the same or it increased. Nuclear. You were correct because it increased. Again, you need to restate the hypothesis. Pumped storage. Hypothesis was wrong. It increased. Again, half a point just because you need to restate your hypothesis. But other than that, that looks correct. Well, yeah, let's just leave it at that because, again, this is an interesting situation because what does this even mean? Where is it at? Negative. I don't understand how you have negative kilowatt hours, right? So because of that, you just the only reason you lost points was for that one was because just like the rest of them, you failed to reiterate your hypothesis. But other than that, I'm not deducting any points because that's just an odd situation. But anyway, petroleum was correct. It increased. All right. So again, just half a point because you didn't restate your hypothesis. Other gases, hypothesis was correct. It increased. That looks good. Again, another half a point. Which one saw the largest increase? You were incorrect. It was petroleum. And again, half a point for not missing or not restating your hypothesis. And let me take another look back here. So we have what? What's the largest increase we're dealing with? 2.7, 3.07 is pumped hydro, depending on how you look at it. Yeah, that is correct. 6.47. So yeah, that was the largest. Good job. My hypothesis was wrong. It was natural gas. That is a correct statement. It did see the largest. But did it see the largest decrease? Sorry, once again, just have to look at the data again. Coal saw the largest decrease, right? As a matter of fact, natural gas did not decrease based on the way we defined decrease versus remain the same, right? So based on the instructions, we would say natural gas technically stayed the same and coal decreased, which reminds me, natural gas, you said it decreased. So again, it didn't decrease, it remained the same. So that's the other half a point for that. And then over here, again, natural gas, well, first of all, half a point for not repeating your hypothesis. And in this case, I'm going to mark that wrong too, because it was not natural gas that saw the largest decrease, right? It was coal saw the larger decrease. So half point, that's a whole point. So 8.5. And then finally, which one saw the larger increase? You were incorrect. Renewable energy saw the larger increase. That is correct. But again, half a point because you need to restate your hypothesis. And I know that's a lot of points missing, right? But it's an easy mistake not to make, and also an easy mistake to fix. So feel free to resubmit as always with corrections. So the next question is basically saying, all right, of all the ones that saw, of all of them, the one that saw the largest increase, like why? Why did it see such a large increase? And to remind you, and to remind myself, the one that saw the largest increase was petroleum, right? So what is it about petroleum that made it see larger increases than the rest? I'm taking a guess, but I believe we saw such an increase because we as people realized the uses for it and took the opportunity to use it more. All right, I hate to do this, but I'm gonna have to deduct that because if you looked at a point for that, because if you look at the instructions, it talks very specifically about. I guess I'll bring it up while I'm talking about it. You need to come up with something, whether right or wrong, because like you said, you're just guessing, so there's no pressure there. But you need to come up with something that's unique to petroleum in this case. And also, the other problem, big problem that I see a lot of students, a lot of mistakes that students make, and in this case, you did too, but you're kind of repeating, you're kind of being redundant. And I'll show you what I mean. It's an easy mistake to make. Where are you at? Here we go. This part. So this is the same thing, but this is right. Your answer should mention something unique about a particular energy source to sell largest, right? So this is all right. The second bullet point is more along the lines of the mistake you made. Also, saying that it was used more is not a sufficient answer, right? So that's basically what you're saying here, right? Like it was used more. Why? And you said because we found more uses for it, so we used it more. Well, that's a given. Obviously, it was used more, um, but why? What is it about petroleum that saw or to where people started using it more than other ones? So yes, that's why I lost that point. Give it a thought. Um, so if you want to make a correction and resubmit, you can. Anyway, the next question is the same question, except now instead of talking about the one that increased, we're talking about the one that decreased the most. Why did it decrease? Why did coal decrease as much as it did? You're taking a guess, and it's because we realize that it's better for our environment while producing enough energy to be useful. So we use it more often. So yeah, definitely going to lose a point here. Because again, I guess the biggest thing here is you're talking about more often when the question is about less often. That's the big thing, right? No matter what, you're just kind of addressing the wrong question. Um, yeah, I guess we'll just leave it at that. So yeah, which one saw the largest decrease? Coal. And then why did it see a larger decrease than the rest of them? So feel free to correct that, make a submit again. All right. So next question is basically asking. I was looking at the big picture, right? So we saw an increase overall. Is it because we're using more renewable? Is it because we're using more non-renewable? Is it because we're using more altogether? So let's see what your answer is. Renewable energy was the higher increase, but I believe Americans are using more energy overall with new technologies and more reason to use energy. I agree with that, right? With all these technological advances, they all run on electricity, right? Anyway, I think Americans have started to just use more power overall. All right, that's good. There's pretty much, I won't say no incorrect answers, but it's hard to get that one wrong. As long as you're addressing the question, this is more of an opinion thing. It's just trying to get you to think. Same, but yeah. So that's that. Next question. Why look at multiple years? Why not just the most recent years? And you put, it's not reliable if you don't consider multiple years, and it's also good research to know what has changed. Very good, right? So if you were to look at this, and I were to say, what is the most popular form of non-renewable energy? And if you were to look at this very glaringly, you can see that it was natural gas is still the most popular. Look, natural gas is what, almost 1700. That's almost as much as all the renewable. That's more than all the renewable combined, right? So that's a lot. But that doesn't tell the whole story, right? Because if you're looking at it, yeah, it's the most used right now. But look, it also is, well, kind of remaining the same, but it is decreasing ever so slightly. So yeah, you were correct on that question. It's all about seeing trends. Is it the more data, the better, right? Taking a snapshot is not as useful as seeing years worth of data. All right, let's look at the graph. Percentages of different powers. It's a good start. Percent change, very good. The one thing you were missing, and a lot of students did this, is your title or your y-axis, either one, should indicate what years we're talking about. All right. Or even better, in theory, you should put percent. Yeah, let's keep it simple and just focus on that. Yeah, you should have the year, right? So percentages of different powers. Even then, I mean, you have it here, so you're not going to lose another point. But percent change of different powers would be better. Um, but then, yeah, the reason you lost the point is because we need, the reader needs to know from what to what. Like, what is this? This is percent of what? And the year, that's where you would put what 2023 to 2024 should go there. Anyway, other than that, it's a good looking graph. And then let's look over here, see if you have any extra credit. This require additional calculations. No. All right, so no extra credit, which is fine. So let me pull up the calculator to show you how the grade is calculated. You can see here there's a total of 39 questions. Excuse me, so to speak. So we subtract 12 from that, which means you got 27 questions correct out of 39. So divide that by 39, which means you got about 69% correct. We multiply that by the 25 points possible, and we get your grade, which is 17.31. 17.31. You did a very good job. Your grade doesn't reflect what a good job you did, but you missed all those questions, or at least half those questions, because you failed to reiterate your hypothesis. But again, it's an easy mistake to fix, so feel free to redo it and resubmit it. And that's it. So once you're done with this video, like I said, if you have any questions, let me know. Send me an email. And also, if you will allow me to change the privacy from unlisted to public, I'll give you some extra credit. So just let me know what you want to do. And that is that. Thank you for your time.